is good old Boston, the home of the bean and the cod, where the Lowells talk only to Cabots, and the Cabots talk only to God.
That was a charming and perhaps accurate poem in its time. But if John Collins Bossity were alive today in the hockey-mad capital of Massachusetts, I think he might be tempted to rewrite his lines to go something like this. And this is good old Boston, the home of traditions galore, where the Lowells talk only to Cabots, and the Cabots talk only of Orr. In Boston, there is only one Bobby. Bobby Orr, the superstar hockey whiz kid. The night this Boston Garden crowd serenaded Bobby Orr was fittingly the same night that the greatest powerhouse in hockey history finished their incredible season-long romp by nailing down first place, even though 7 games were still left in the schedule. It was the first time in 30 years that the Bruins had won the coveted Prince of Wales trophy, symbolic of supremacy in the National Hockey League's Eastern Division. On their way to giving Bobby Orr the best birthday party a 23-year-old hockey player could possibly wish for, the Bruins had ripped through the National Hockey League's record book like a carnival strongman tearing apart the yellow pages. From most goals by a team in a single season to the fastest 3 goals in history. From the highest-scoring defenseman to the highest-scoring player of all time. The Boston Bruins smashed records and shattered long-held standards quicker than a dozen opera singers locked in a crystal factory. At airports and hotels all across North America, the Bruins were mobbed by throngs of hockey fans eager to get a closer look at the record breakers, the team that was tearing the record book apart. As they battered their way through the league and its records, Boston's heroes attracted record crowds to the Forum in Los Angeles, the Coliseum in Oakland, in Vancouver, Detroit, New York, and even Montreal. Hockey fans and hockey professionals were stunned by Boston's awesome power. Clarence Campbell, for 25 years president of the National Hockey League, has seen all of the great modern clubs.
I don't think I have ever seen such a display of awesome power as they are able to marshal in the course of the regular season. Now, whether or not they would match up with some of the great dynasties which have existed in previous times remains to be seen, but certainly this is perhaps the most tremendous assault there has ever been made on the records of the National Hockey League, and it was the product of real, genuine skill and determination.
The most sensational season in the history of professional sports started with a bang. This goal in the season's first game, a victory over Detroit by Phil Esposito, more popular in Boston's North End than spaghetti on Wednesday. Frank Mihalik on the left wing trying to drive it out. He's stopped by Green, but it does go over in the wing to Cashman. Cashman hit by Bob Bond. He knocks Bond down. Puck in the corner. Webster jammed up by Esposito. Cashman fights to move it to the backboards and does so. Loses to Alex Del Vecchio. His pass goes right to the point to Green. A drive, tip, score! Esposito! Phil Esposito deflected home the drive from 15 feet out. Teddy Green in the right point drove it. Green was set up by Ken Hodge. Esposito in a beautiful position there to tie it up. It's Boston 1 and Detroit 1. While Espo and the Bruins were off to a flying start, most eyes were on a man who hadn't played the year before, Teddy Green, the pillar of strength in the Boston defense, who had fought back from near death with pride, determination, and courage to once again play for the Bruins when many had predicted he would never skate again. Boston fans, rooting for him with all their hearts, let Teddy know how they felt about his extraordinary comeback. Brown in the Philadelphia goal doing a fine job. Now the puck loose out in front. Ken Hodge trying to move it in front. It deflects back. Ted Green closing, moving, shooting, scores! Ted Green gets his first goal in a comeback bid. And a standing ovation for Ted Green, the rugged Bruins defenseman scoring. Ken Hodge figures in the goal, and Ted as the crowd goes wild. Ted Green, the man who had come back alone, was moved by the Garden's ovation and more determined than ever.
Bob, looking at Teddy Green and realizing what he had to go through, and then the season and the comeback, how do you feel about that?
Well, I think there are some awards around for comeback of the year, most courageous athlete, and so on. And I think he's the only man that should win any kind of award like this. I think Teddy's the only man that I think that could really come back because he's so strong and determined and full-headed, whatever you want to say.
The Bruins were off on a rocket ride, right to the top and right through the records. The main threat came from the New York Rangers. The two teams met for the first time at the end of October. Bucyk tries to swing the net to McKenzie, back to Orr. Orr drives one. Save, Giacomin. He just stood up to it all the way. And Jean Rattel clears it out. Boy, that's fine goaltending. Good stand-up goaltending by Ed Giacomin of the Rangers. Here's Orr again, past one man. He's over the line himself. Trying to cut right by the defense. He's in front to Bucyk. Score! Bobby Orr over the line now, trying to sneak by Nielsen. He's trying to center it. He does. And a score by Phil Esposito. A centering pass from Bobby Orr. And the Rangers, unbelievably, just standing around there. And that makes it 4-0, Boston. Eddie Johnston, a man who knows the angles better than a billiards champion, was off to the finest year in his career. Face out to the right of Ed Johnston, puck down to Gilbert, to Egas. Egas shot on Johnston. Another shot, a great save on Gilbert. Two great stops by Ed Johnston in a row. Marcotte gets it and clears. The applause for Ed Johnston. First it was Egas walking in front, and Ed Johnston saved. Then it was Gilbert, and a great stop on that one. And time running out in the game between the Rangers and the Boston Bruins. And Boston gets the victory as the Bruins surround goaltender Ed Johnston, who came up with the all-important shutout, as the Bruins defeat the New York Rangers by a score of 6-0. Most hockey fans think the goalie has the toughest and tensest job in sports. And most hockey fans are wrong. Without a doubt, the toughest job in sports is being a goaltender's wife. How about that, Mrs. Ed Johnston?
I find it nerve-wracking when they're coming at him, so I can imagine how he feels, but yet he seems a lot calmer, you know. I believe the pressure is tougher because I sit there and I realize that on the ice, many of the men on the team can make mistakes and maybe be overlooked. But a goaltender makes one mistake, and that's it. The puck is in the net, and he's to blame or he's not, and I feel the pressure an awful lot during the game.
By the end of November, the Bruins held the edge on second-place New York. But the Bruins already had the look of champions. Even on their off days, the record breakers were coming back. Marshall breaks up Dallas Smith in the Boston end. 1:30 left in the game, and Boston trails 4-3 against the surprising Buffalo Sabres, looking for their first win over the defending Stanley Cup champions. Marshall gets it to Goyette. Goyette checked. Orr trying to work it out. Orr passes over to Dallas Smith. Bruins down to their end, so they can't take out goaltender Ed Johnston. Buffalo leads it 4-3. Esposito now breaks it center ice. Here he comes with Hodge and Cashman. Over the line. Hodge closing. A shot. He scores! Ken Hodge drilled it through Roger Crozier to tie it up on a great pass from Phil Esposito, and just 1:09 left in the game. And on the rare occasions when goals didn't come in bushel baskets, sensational goaltending did the trick. Here at Philadelphia, Jerry Cheevers stood off the Flyers with a 1-0 win. 14 minutes left in the game, third period. Bruins leading 1-0 on a first-period power play goal by Ken Hodge. Here's Bobby Clark over the line, moving in. He shoots. Great save by Jerry Cheevers. And a rebound. Clark, another fine stop by Cheevers. It's loose in the Boston end, picked up by the Philadelphia defense. To Gendron, alone in front. He shoots, and Cheevers picks that one out of the air. What a stop by Jerry Cheevers. The attack on the record book began in earnest. The Bruins toppled the first of an unbelievable 37 National Hockey League records. Philadelphia with a man advantage. The Bruins now break out of their zone. Don Marcotte, Dallas Smith, and Bobby Orr moving to center ice. Dallas Smith over the line of Marcotte on the left side. He shoots. He scores! Marcotte and the Bruins have set a new National Hockey League record for shorthanded goals as they now have 15, breaking the old mark set by Chicago. The penalty-killing squad was becoming as fearsome as most teams' power plays. The key was the mop-haired, mustachioed center who looks more like the president of the now generation than one of the best hockey players in the world.
Derek, you and the Bruins featured shorthanded goals this year and set a new record in that department, and it's been one of your specialties. What are you conscious of when you're killing a penalty?
The basic thing in killing penalties, Fred, is just to make sure that you can pick up your winger. You can forecheck them and harass them before they can get organized in their own end. You can practically kill the penalty off itself. But the dangerous part is picking up the winger, coming back, and make sure that the man in the slot is covered. He's got to watch both point man and the centerman. The wingers aren't really that dangerous unless the point man gets the puck, and then they can start tipping shots. Basically, I think it's a matter of working, knowing who you're playing with, and of course killing penalties with Orr and Dallas Smith, as we do most of the time, is it really helps us out quite a bit.
How are you able to convert it, as the Bruins were this year, and you were a big part of it, into an offensive thing where you scored a goal?
It was only because you can catch them off guard. They're not thinking of any kind of offense. They just think you're going to shoot the puck down. But if you hold on for an extra second, and of course Bobby Orr breaks for you, and away you go.
While Sanderson's crew was busy turning the tables, Phil Esposito was firing goals faster than a shill hitting bullseyes at a carnival dart-throwing game. Phil Esposito at center ice, moving in over the blue line, right through the defense. He moves in, he falls, shoots, scores! Phil Esposito beat Gary Smith while closing and falling. Beautiful goal by Phil Esposito, his 38th of the season. That was number 38 at Oakland. And this is number 44 against Montreal. Hodge with it behind the net to Dallas Smith. Dallas to the right of Cheever starts it out. Now to Bobby Orr. He breaks center ice. Fine with Hodge. Up to Ken over the line. Ken goes for the shot. Save as shot. In front. Esposito. Backhander. He scores! A beautiful goal by Phil Esposito. A shifty game there. Looked to me like he had the shot backhanded. Held it though. Turned it to his forehand and shot it over Rocky Vachon. At the end of the first week in February, the Bruins held a good lead on the second-place Rangers. But the New York club was winning games and keeping close. February 9th, the two teams had a shoot-'em-out showdown on Boston Garden ice. Wayne Cashman came up with the clincher. Here in the third period, all tied up, the Boston Bruins pressing the line of Esposito. Hodge and Cashman have it down behind the Rangers' net. Now moving it in close. Cashman works it out of the corner. In close. He scores to make it 4-3. In the corner, but Cashman jammed it home to make it 4-3 for the Boston Bruins. On a rampage, the Bruins stretched their unbeaten string to 11 games with a 5-3 win over the Blues before a record crowd in the St. Louis Arena. Eddie Westfall, the jack of all trades who has played every position but goal, was the man who spiked the St. Louis horn.
Ed, a great game against St. Louis, that hat-trick game, and won a short-handed goal. That had to be one of your big nights.
Yes, but I seem to have some kind of a thing in St. Louis where goals have become a little easier for me there. I have had 2 hat-tricks in my career now, and both of them coming in St. Louis. Of course, when you do get a short-handed goal, it kind of not only gives you personally a lift, but it also gives the team a lift, especially in such a tight game as we had.
Eddie, who is to finish up his finest year with 25 goals and 34 assists, won more than just admiration from his Pelham, New Hampshire neighbors.
Well, it started actually back in training camp when the fellas who are very familiar with one of my close friends up in Lawrence, Dick Hagerty, and his partner Alpha Pub. I'm the neighbor of theirs here in Pelham, New Hampshire, and it came about when one of the fellas in a teasing gesture said that they thought it would be a little nicer if they were to allow me to drive a Porsche rather than to have the Audi or a Volkswagen that I was driving at the time. And of course Dick picked it up very quick, and he said something like, I'll give him a Porsche to drive when he scores 20 goals, with a little sarcasm in his voice. And I said, you're on. And the bet seemed to just grow from then on, that each time I scored another goal, he was threatening to send telegrams to the other players telling them not to pass me the puck. But when I did score the 20th goal, he ordered his remarks back in September at training camp. So he and his partner brought a brand new Porsche over to me and said that was mine and handed it to me, and I drove away. It was great.
And now, in mid-February, the record breakers were rolling. An ice hockey juggernaut smashing NHL statistics to smithereens. In Oakland, Esposito negotiated a personal milestone. The Bruins pressing in the open end, and behind the net over in the corner now, it's Wayne Cashman battling for the puck. He centers it to Phil Esposito. He scores! Esposito, at 19:22 of the first period, gets his 250th career goal. And that's his 49th of the season for the Boston Bruins. At Buffalo, Bobby Orr became the only player in National Hockey League annals to put two 100-point seasons back-to-back. The Sabres proving mighty tough here at Buffalo. Boston out in front, and now Orr has the puck. Moves it up over the line to John McKenzie. He shoots, he scores! John McKenzie, 20th goal of the season. And Bobby Orr's 100th point for a record. And that makes Bobby Orr the only player in the National Hockey League to put two 100-point seasons back-to-back. Of all the incredible records the once-in-a-lifetime Bruins shattered, perhaps the least believable was the mark for the 3 fastest goals by a team. In 1952, the Chicago Blackhawks, in the person of Billy Mosienko, had managed 3 goals within 21 seconds. It was a record that was meant to stand forever, until the Bruins met Vancouver, February 25th, 1971. Here are all those unforgettable 20 seconds of playing time in that now legendary third period. 15-17 left in the game. It's all tied up. Boston 2 and Vancouver 2. Ted Taylor going off for 2 minutes, and Boston will have the man at hand. Phil Esposito against Andre Boudria on the faceoff. Goes to McKenzie. He has it in the corner. Holding. Cross to Bucyk. He scores! Bucyk scores! Right off the faceoff. Esposito to McKenzie. Right in front to John Bucyk. And it's number 39 for the Chiefs. Boston takes the lead for the first time. McKenzie centered it right in front, and Bucyk couldn't miss from that range. And John Bucyk now has 87 points. Boston with a 3-2 lead. Face off, here's Green over the line now, shifting, trying to cut in, shoots. Wilson saves. Westfall scores! Ed Westfall put in the rebound of a Ted Green shot right off the face-off, and the Bruins go in front by 2. Green's drive made it. Ed Westfall put in the rebound of Green's drive, 4-2 right off the faceoff. What a great play by Derek Sanderson to set it up for Ted Green. And for Ed Westfall, now has his 20th goal, and that's his first 20-goal season. How could he miss? Great rush by Ted Green. Off the faceoff now, Ted Green rushing. Down the right side, Green shoots. He scores! Green drills it by Wilson, and the Bruins have 3 in a row. And if I've read the clock correctly, this is in record time, right off the faceoff. A blistering shot by Ted Green to make it 5-2 as the fans go wild. The score now, 5-2. You wouldn't realize this has been a very close game. The Bruins have just scored the 3 fastest goals in the history of the National Hockey League. 3 goals in 20 seconds. The fans are going crazy here. I think they might shake the garden down. Always the supreme analyst, Derek Sanderson offered his considered view of the extraordinary event.
Well, first of all, Johnny Bucyk scored a great goal on the power play. And then our line came out, which we usually do. We always follow the power play out there because we are a defensive line, and that's our first thing, is to make sure that if our power play scores or if it doesn't, that the opposing team does not score on us for the next shift. It's very important that you can settle the play down immediately. So when we were going out, we were thinking of that. And then Teddy Green picked up the puck, and he started stick handling through the whole team. Went around, made a pass to Eddie Westfall, and scored. And it was amazing, you know. The face-off went back to Teddy, and Teddy carried it in, set up Eddie Westfall, and he scored. So that was true, and of course now you got an added bonus and a plus. So the important thing then is saying, oh wow, now that you've got it, you've really got to play defensive because you can't let them get back in the game now. So we went out there again, and the puck was in their end. They got a face-off, won the draw to Teddy Green, and Teddy Green just shot it in. That was it.
Derek, that must have been a historic moment for you.
Oh, it was. It's always nice to get in you get into things like that, you can talk about them after the game, and you can fool around with the guys, and it's about time I got involved with some kind of record. Everybody else scoring records but me.
The record breakers were rolling, rewriting the National Hockey League record book to read Boston and Boston again. All over the hub, all over New England, young Lowells, Cabots, Cohens, DiGiovannis, and McCarthys were proudly trying to change their names.
I want to be Bobby Orr. No, I want to be Bobby Orr. 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 I ain't going to be Derek Senior. No, I want to be McKenzie. Bobby Orr. I want to be Bobby Orr. I want to be Bobby Orr.
In Minnesota, at the beginning of March, a record the Bruins themselves had established only 2 years before tumbled with all the rest. Play on in the Boston end. Carlton with the puck. Moves it over to Westfall. Westfall back out in the center ice. Carlton has it. Back over the red line, over the blue line. Fires. And it's a goal by Wayne Carlton. Carlton scores. That's number 304 for the Boston Bruins, as Maniago had it and lost it. And Wayne Carlton sets a new record for the Boston Bruins as the team scores their 304th goal. And that breaks the record of most goals in a single season, 303, a record that was made by the Bruins themselves. A few games later, the Bruins faced Pittsburgh. Espo racked up another hat trick on the way to a 6-3 Boston win. A big win, a record-breaking win. And the final score is Boston 6 and Pittsburgh 3. Phil Esposito getting number 56, third goal of a hat trick, and he now trails Bobby Hull's record by just 2. And the Bruins win their 47th game, which is another National Hockey League record. Just about everyone around Boston says we when talking about the Bruins. We won, or we scored. But one man has a little bit more right to do so than most. Weston Adams, Jr., what's it like to watch your team knock down more victories than ever before in a National Hockey League season?
Well, certainly the regular season was a tremendous thrill for me. It's funny, I think it's probably harder on the people who sit in the stands watching the game than it is on the players, because although you never step on the ice, you always feel as though you'd skated for 60 minutes, and when somebody on your club gets knocked down, you can feel yourself picking yourself up off the ice, and you take all the checks, and you do all the work, and you score none of the goals. From the blustery beginnings of March right through to the month's equally blustery end, the 1970-71 Boston Bruins played the lion to the NHL record book's lamb. In Oakland, Bobby Orr tied his own record. And then, in the same game, he broke it.
Puck to Stackhouse behind the net, trying to center it. Blocked. Controlled by Rick Smith. Up the boards for Marcotte. Center ice now. Sends Westfall over the line. It's deflected away by Stackhouse. Westfall goes in at the backboards. Fights for it. Has it. Trying to center it now as Boston is at full strength. Now to Orr. Orr cuts right in. Looks. Oh! Fakes. Shoots. Scores! Bobby Orr just kept holding that puck. Waiting. Faking. I think he was looking for somebody to pass to. And finally shot. Number 34 for Bobby Orr from Ed Westfall. And that's a record for National Hockey League defensemen as Orr gets it to make it 6-1. At 56 seconds, that's the 34th for Bobby Orr. A new National Hockey League record for defensemen. He had the previous one. And what a goal. What more can you say about the greatest player in the history of hockey? That it's sometimes almost embarrassing to have to play against him? Sometimes it's almost a little bit embarrassing just to be Bobby Orr.
It's a team thing. We're not going to break any records. We're not going to win if we don't play together. I mean, the individual gets credit with the record, but it's definitely team play. There's no way you can do it by yourself.
From San Francisco Bay, the Bruins rumbled down to L.A., where in a game March 11th, the record breakers may have cracked more barriers in less time than a supersonic jet on a test flight. First, Phil Esposito broke ex-teammate Bobby Hull's goal-scoring mark. Hodge digs it out, trying to come out the right side. Bothered, still has it. Slides it to Darnori, and he breaks center ice. Kings lead 1-0. Left to Cashman. A lead pass. He's down in the corner with it, trying to close it in front. And Esposito couldn't get it. Green a shot on the screen. Blocked. Hodge rebound shot goes wide. Hodge behind the net has it. To the right of DeJordy. Now, try to feed it in front as Esposito is jammed up. Green fires at the screen. Goal! Esposito! Deflected at home by number 59 on a shot by Ted Green. And Phil Esposito has scored his 59th goal to set a new National Hockey League record as he was bounced around furiously in front of Dennis DeJordy, and Green's shot was tipped home as the Bruins surround Phil Esposito, and he has tied it up with his 59th goal from Ken Hodge and Ted Green. Green fired from about 35 feet, and the Bruins tie it up, and that's a new National Hockey League record. I'm going to try and talk with Phil Esposito and get a recorded conversation, and so Ed Pitkin, if you take over, I'll go down. And I broke a few records of my own, racing down to the bench to interview Espo, and what may be the first time a play-by-play announcer ever deserted his mic during a game.
Congratulations. Thank you very much, Fred.
Tell us about the goal quickly.
Well, it was Hodge got it back to Greeny on the point, and he shot it, and I tipped it in. I just missed one earlier. Hit a goal post, and then Hodge and Cash both set me up, and I missed it again. But I got it anyway that time. But we got a game to win now, Fred. It's 1-1.
Good luck, Phil. Thank you. Still in the first period, John Bucyk fired home his 46th goal. And Philip Anthony Esposito broke the all-time National Hockey League record for scoring. It was formerly held by a fellow named Philip Anthony Esposito. The puck down, Bucyk back to Orr. Orr fires. Save DeJordy. Puck loose. Bucyk with it. Shoots and scores! John Bucyk from Bobby Orr on the rebound, and the Bruins get the goal very quickly to take a lead of 2-1. And for John Bucyk, number 46. And he's got 97 points. And now Phil Esposito is getting the puck. Phil gets an assist on the faceoff, back to Orr. Orr's shot blocked by DeJordy and the rebound by Bucyk, so Esposito gets the assist. And it is.
Assist to number 4, Bobby Orr.
Bobby Orr gets an assist.
Number 7.
And Phil Esposito. And that's a new record. On 2 straight goals here, Phil Esposito has set 2 records. And Bobby Orr broke the all-time record for assists. The draw, Esposito to Orr, right point, up to McKenzie at the right side. In front, Bucyk scores! John Bucyk from John McKenzie and Bobby Orr. And the Bruins make it 7-1, and they made that in a picture goal. The time is 6:11. The goal, John Bucyk's 47th, from John McKenzie and Bobby Orr. When the Holocaust was over, the Bruins had broken 4 records and tied another for most wins on the road. They handled that minor obstacle 2 nights later in Vancouver with a 6-3 victory, memorable for a different reason. Now Orr from his own end starts it out for Boston. Vancouver leads 1-0. Orr comes carefully center ice now to Esposito, trying to cut in on the right wing. He's over the line, drifts down, is checked by Doak, goes near the net to Bucyk. He scores! John Bucyk from Phil Esposito, and John Bucyk gets the puck, his 100 points, his 48th goal, as the Boston Bruins tie it up in the second period on a power play goal by Bucyk. Bucyk's scoring feat made Boston the only team ever to boast 3 100-point scorers in a single year. Later, Kenny Hodge would make it 4. Back home in Boston to face the Flyers, Johnny McKenzie got his 30th goal. No score, first period at Boston Garden. Esposito trying to get it back to Orr, does so. Orr holds right point up to McKenzie, right side, in the corner. Holding in the corner now, trying to feed it, holding, still waiting. Now back to Stanfield. He drills it in a screen, scores! John McKenzie tipped it home for number 30 for John McKenzie. That's his highest point total. At season's end, the Bruins had 5 players with 30 goals or more. That's like having a racing stable filled with man of wars. Oh, there was something else about the game against the Flyers we almost forgot to mention. Man advantage, Philadelphia. Bernier swings into center ice. Now left to Gendron. Smoothly over the Boston line. Broken up by Orr. And the puck deflects back to Orr. Orr swings it out. Now cuts back in the Boston end. Whirling around. The crowd yells. He gets to the Hodge. Back to Orr. He breaks. To the end of the bench. Cuts on the left side. Now swings back to center ice. In those beautiful strides of his. And he's 23 years old today and goes down behind the Boston net. And Parker's there to watch him. And he flicks it out to Phil Esposito. And Phil carries center ice and moves it down to the Philadelphia end. Beautiful work by Orr, killing off time. Philadelphia trying to come out. Lacroix up ahead for Gendron, too far ahead, and Orr has it again. And from his own blue line, carries down behind the Boston net. Gendron in to pursue him, so he cuts away from him. Cuts away from Bobby Clark. Up in the center ice, now plays it back to Rick Smith, still in the Boston zone. The penalty almost up. Rick Smith to Orr again. He goes down behind the Boston net, holding it there. Out comes Don Ari, and Boston at full strength. Crowd singing happy birthday to Bobby Orr. And the Bruins, of course, made sure that Bobby's birthday was a happy one. First place was won, but there was a lot more to come. In a game against Buffalo, now Orr starts center right. Red line to Walton, streaking over the line down in the corner, centers it, and it's tipped away, kept in by Esposito. Back to Orr, back to Esposito. It goes to the backboards. Esposito to Hodge. Back to Bucyk. He's the left point man. He fires to Esposito. Quick shot. Scores! And Ken Hodge gets the puck. He fed it back to John Bucyk. And Bucyk fed it to Phil Esposito. And that's the 100th point for Ken Hodge. He becomes the fourth Bruin to get 100 points. And up at Toronto, Phil Esposito added still another record. Bruins set on the power play as Esposito winds up behind the net, starting out now. Back to Orr. Orr, flying, turns the net. He comes hard, center ice. Coming up over the Toronto line. Over on the left side. Wheels around inside the zone. Now still holds it, stops, holds it. Now left to Stanfield. Now to Esposito in front. Scores! Phil Esposito has broken the record. Power play goals held by Bobby Howe as he gets his 23rd. And Phil Esposito makes it 1-0 on his 72nd goal of the season with that beautiful, quick wrist shot. Not to be outdone, Wayne Carlton was showing the team that had traded him how it's done. Long pass to Ullman, sends him away with Spencer over the line. Coming up, drops it for Spencer. The shot blocked by Green, and the deflection goes back to the right point to McKinney for a shot and a save by Johnston, a beauty. Rebound Carlton, digs it out, center ice, up to Westfall. He breaks with Sanderson over the line, shifting to Carlton, closing a backhander and scores! Wayne Carlton, a beautiful backhander from Ed Westfall, and that makes it 6-2 as Bernie Ferrant held the short side, but Carlton's backhander was a beauty for his second of the night. Carlton became the 10th 20-goal scorer for the Bruins. An incredible record of unmatched depth and power. In the final game of the season at the Garden against Montreal, Phil Esposito finished off his masterful year with a maestro's touch. Mir stops it behind the net for Guy Lapointe. Lapointe trying to move it out, stopped by Stanfield, well up from the left point, holding, looking. Now back to Orr at the right point. He fires. Now save, rebound. Esposito! Number 75 for Phil Esposito to make it 4-1 for the Boston Bruins as he drove home the rebound of a Bobby Orr shot. And Esposito has scored 75 goals in this fantastic season. A standing ovation for Phil. Goals for Esposito on national television, too, and what a season. The Bruins racked up Montreal 7-2, and just about everything they did that Sunday afternoon created another NHL record. Espo got his 7th hat trick and finished out the year with 76 goals and 152 points. And the record breakers ended up with the top 4 scorers in the league. The Bruins won more games, scored more points, and more goals than any team in the history of the league. 37 records in all. Itself a record. In his first year as Boston's coach, Tom Johnson, a member of hockey's Hall of Fame, looked back on the record-breaking year.
This team just rewrote the record book. It was a real rewarding year as far as coaching went because imagine having a 76-goal scorer, another defenseman with over 100 assists, and Johnny Bucyk with 51 goals, Kenny Hodge over 100 points. It was just a real satisfying year.
During the season, this team is the best hockey team I've ever seen, and they proved it by, as I said before, rewriting the record book.
On to the Stanley Cup playoffs, which open in Boston against the ever-tough Montreal Canadiens. Boston had a power play early in the first game.
Draw goes back to Stanfield, left point, holding. Two-man advantage, Boston. Oh, it drills one. Goal! Bobby Orr with John McKenzie just off the crease. Drilled it home to make it 1-0.
Montreal tied it up, and then Boston took the lead for good midway through the second period. Jerry Cheevers did the rest.
Orr turns the net, starts it out for Boston. Both clubs short-handed. Orr in the center right, over the red line, over the Montreal line, shifting, and he's hauled down by two men, LaPeria and Harper. Crowd yells. Out comes Lemaire, one man back. Rick Smith with him, 2-on-1. Left to Quinlay. He is broken up by Cheevers, who came out to break him up. What a play! Pete Mahavlich clears it up the left boards for Frank Mahavlich. He breaks center right. Coming up now on the Boston line, over the line, weaves, closes, centers it, and it's a save by Cheevers on Pete Mahavlich, who tried to tip it home. Beautiful block by Cheevers, who dropped.
The 3-1 victory was Jerry Cheevers' 11th straight Stanley Cup win. The second game witnessed one of the sharpest reversals in Stanley Cup history. Leading 5-1 near the end of the second period, the Bruins saw their lead steadily eroded. Suddenly, with 10 minutes left to play, the score was tied 5-5. Montreal's John Ferguson got the go-ahead goal with less than 5 minutes to play. There's only one way for a Bostonian to listen to that foreboding play, and that's in French.
Béliveau prend la rondelle derrière le filet, il se bat contre Dallas Smith pour la contrôler. Béliveau et Smith à gauche du filet. Béliveau la passe à Ferguson qui la lance. Il marque. Et maintenant les Canadiens de Montréal ont pris l'avantage sur les Bruins de Boston 6-5, 6-5. Il n'y a que 4 minutes et quelques secondes qui restent à la joute. Et les Canadiens, après avoir été presque battus, se sont revenus avec 5 buts consécutifs et ils mènent.
Les Canadiens won the game, and the next one, too. Then Boston came back with 2 straight and led the series 3-2. Montreal won the 6th game, and it all came down to a Sunday afternoon at Boston Garden.
Now over to Rick Smith, left defense. Back up the left side for Esposito. He clears it in, wide of Dryden. Cashman going for it, but it's LaPerriere. Moving it up, stolen by Hodge. Hodge cuts in, shoots, scores! And Hodge intercepted on Jacques LaPerriere and moved right in to catch Dryden and beat him to the short side, his glove side, and a 1-0 lead for Boston on their first shot on net.
Montreal roared back. Early in the third period, the Canadiens held a 4-1 lead.
Stanfield of Bucyk cuts in, is in, a backhander scores! John Bucyk right off the faceoff makes it 4-2 as he walked out of the corner. Got the pass from Stanfield and wheeled a backhander to Dryden's right to make it Montreal 4 and Boston 2.
Hope restored, the Bruins buzzed the Montreal net. But a rookie goalie who used to spend his time in Boston beating Harvard, BU, and BC denied the Bruins with arms, legs, skates, and glove.
Bucyk going for it. It rolls around the corner. Stanfield pokes it up to the backboard. Bucyk going, centers it. Esposito shot. Dryden saves. Oh, what a chance Esposito had. Alone in front. Centering pass from Bucyk, and Dryden saves. Just superb goaltending. The puck rolls to Cashman, and he breaks center ice. He's up over the line. Leaves it for Esposito. Back in front. Knocked away by Dryden. It was sort of a pass and sort of a shot. Hodge gets it. Out in front. Stanfield shoots. Dryden saves. Shot it right at him. Broken stick. Dryden out to grab it in the air. And the Bruins had their chances.
Time ran out. Mighty Casey had found another sport to haunt. When the afternoon was over, there was no more joy in Boston. The mighty Bruins had lost out. The hero of the series, or the villain as you like, was the ex-Cornell goalkeeper, a law student named Dryden. 6 feet 4 inches of lightning speed.
Ken, were you nervous going into this seventh game any more so than any of the others?
Well, I was yesterday, and I was last night and this morning, but sort of once the game sort of started, it really wasn't that bad. I mean, even sort of before you got your first shot, it was sort of a feeling that, look, it's not going to help any. Just try to relax and see how it works.
Ken, everybody asks the pressure on you as really a minor leaguer and no National Hockey League experience in Stanley Cup play where the pressure doubles. Did you feel you had it on you? You didn't show it.
I don't think I had it on me any more than anybody else had it on them. I really think, you're used to pressure situations. It may not be the Stanley Cup, but it may be some other type of hockey, or it may be, in school, or it may be in business, or whatever it happens to be. You're used to, doing something under a situation like that, so it's not all that much different.
In postseason awards, Esposito won the Ross for scoring. Orr took down the Norris for defense, and the Hart as the most valuable player for the second year in a row. And John Bucyk was voted the Lady Byng for sportsmanship. The players would have gladly traded their trophies for another look at the Stanley Cup. But perhaps in a way, Boston's playoff defeat was not all bad. It was the only proof that scientists have that the 1970-71 Bruins were not machines. They were human, after all.